Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more updates and more videos. What am I going to share is about history, the American occupation in the Philippines. The coming of Americans to the Philippines. The coming of the Americans to the Philippines was inevitable. It was part of their plan in the war against Spain. In 1897, a year before the outbreak of the Spanish-American War, Commodore George Dewey was instructed to set up base in Hong Kong in preparation for an attack on the Philippines. Dewey knew that he did not have enough troops in Manila, so he tried to enlist the help of Emilio Aguinaldo, who was still in exile in Hong Kong. He sent messages to the Filipino leaders sometime in April 1898 through some high-ranking American agents. Dewey asked Aguinaldo to return to the Philippines and resume leadership of the Philippine Revolution. Aguinaldo was assured by the Americans that they had no intention of occupying the Philippines after the war. He was also advised to immediately set up dictatorial government to organize the Filipinos. The Spanish-American War ignited when the American ship USS Maine exploded at the Havana Harbor in Cuba on February 15, 1898. The explosion of the Maine killed hundreds of American crewmen. The U.S. government immediately blamed the explosion on the Spaniards despite lack of proof. President William McKinley, with the approval of U.S. Congress, officially declared war against Spain on April 25, 1898. On the same day, the Spanish-American War was declared. Dewey received the order to attack Manila. He immediately proceeded with a mission, commanding a fleet of ships equipped with superior war weapons. On May 1, 1898, the Dewey force arrived in Philippines. What followed was battle in Manila Bay between Dewey's naval force and Spanish Admiral Patricio Montojo's fleet of old ships. The surprise attack gained for Dewey's an easy victory, the first American victory in the Spanish-American War. The Philippine national flag was hoisted for the first time, and the Philippine national anthem was also played for the first time. Meanwhile, the Declaration of the Philippine Independence was read by Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista. On June 23, 1898, Emilio Aguinaldo replaced the dictatorial government with a Filipino revolutionary government. He remained as president of the revolutionary government. On July 1898, Emilio Aguinaldo appointed delegates to the Revolutionary Congress. This Congress was inaugurated in Barasawin Church in Malolos, Bulacan on September 15, 1898. The Malolos Congress ratified the Declaration of the Philippine Independence on September 29, 1898. It later on drafted the Malolos Constitution that legitimized the establishment of the First Philippine Republic. 2 weeks later, after the Dewey's naval force destroyed the Spanish fleet in Manila Bay, the Americans blockaded the waters surrounding Manila. At this point, Dewey could not yet land his forces because they were outnumbered. The American ships remained stationed in the waters of Manila Bay. While Dewey awaited reinforcement from the United States, for months while the Americans were in Manila Bay, the Filipino Army had already recovered almost all of the Spanish strongholds in the Philippines. Manila, in Manila, 20,000 Filipino revolutionaries already surrounded the walled city in Intramuros. Inside the city, almost 15,000 Spaniards were trapped, anxiously waiting for the direct instruction from Spain. Additional American grounded forces began to arrive in the Philippines from June until July 1898. By the time the Filipino and American forces had controlled Manila and the surrounded Intramuros, Governor General Agustin was ready to surrender. However, he was replaced by Governor General Fermin Haudenes, who was instructed to surrender only to the Americans and not to the Filipinos. This decision was presented to the leaders of the American forces, who consented to a secret agreement. Before they surrendered, the Spaniards requested mock battle to save face. They also asked the Americans not to allow the Filipino revolutionaries to enter the city. The mock battle of Manila was finally staged on August 13, 1898. When the Spaniards hoisted white flag as a sign of surrender, the Americans prevented the Filipinos from entering Intramuros. This angered the revolutionaries, who became suspicious of the Americans. On August 14, 1898, American General Wesley Merritt established a military government in the Philippines. The United States at this time had controlled Manila and other areas pacified by the American forces. Spanish-American War brought great losses to Spain, not only in the Philippines but also in its other colonies like Cuba and Puerto Rico. When Spain finally surrendered, the United States of America agreed to a peace treaty. Unknown to General Merritt and his army, the Spanish-American War had already ended on the day before the mock battle in Manila. Official instructions arrived late in the Philippines, and the American forces in the country did not know that U.S. President McKinley already ordered that all military action against Spaniards be stopped. On December 10, 1898, peace commissioners from the United States of America and Spain met in Paris, France, and signed the Treaty of Paris. This officially ended the war between the two nations. Through the treaty, Spain agreed to relinquish control over Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Guam to the Americans. Treaty of Paris was happened in 1898. However, when it came to the issue of the Philippines, Spain was reluctant to hand over the islands to the United States. Eventually, the United States of America paid Spain a sum of $20 million for the Philippines. On December 21, 1898, President William McKinley announced his benevolent assimilation proclamation. This officially declared the American occupation of the Philippines. On January 23, 1899, Emilio Aguinaldo established the First Philippine Republic in Malolos, Bulacan, where he was installed as president. However, it did not prosper much due to the growing hostility between American and Filipino forces. The Treaty of Paris and McKinley's benevolent assimilation program made the Filipinos realize that the Americans had no plans to honor the independence of the new Philippine Republic. Emilio Aguinaldo, although reluctant to fight the Americans, warned the Filipinos would be ready to defend the country. As a result, a tense situation between the Americans and the Filipinos developed. Negotiations were initiated, but all of them failed. That's all what I can share. Thank you very much for watching. I love you all.